Hello, students. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing well, studying hard for your exams, and also not only for exams, I am sure you all are studying to enrich your mind with all the knowledge that you gain while studying various subjects, isn't it? So, today we are continuing with the chapter 6, that is human body circulatory system, which is in your standard 8, and the topic that we are going to study is the human heart, isn't it? Just a second. Yes, human heart. We are going to study about the symbol of love. But see, we draw the symbol of love for our friends, for our parents in this way, isn't it? But the thing is the symbol of love, that is a human heart, really like this? Full red and everything in this way? Hmm, that we have to find out. So let's dive deep into this topic. All right. So let's see what's there. Okay. So a heart is going to be transplanted from one person, and then this we can see how the heart is beating. It's not inside the body. You might be wondering, how is it happening? But yes, it can happen. So this is like an open heart surgery that is taking place in a person. Then the next slide, let's see what's there. Woo! My goodness, just see how the heart is beating. See? You can see these valves, something is closing and opening, and how this entire heart is beating. Very fascinating, isn't it? Yes, so we will be studying about that how does the heart beat? What is actually the symbol of love? Let's see. So first, let's see, where is the human heart situated? It is situated on the middle left side of our chest. All right, on the middle left side. You can feel your heartbeat. Okay, so it's on the middle left side. So heart, you can say, is one of the most vital organ, most vital organ of our body, isn't it? So what is its role? Let's see here. Just let me wipe out this one. Eraser. Yes. So its role is basically role. Let me write it here. Okay. Role is to pump blood. You can write it along with me in your copy or book. To pump blood through the circulatory system, through the circulatory system, thus providing what? Thus providing oxygen rich blood, oxygen rich blood required for staying alive. All right, so what it's written here? Let me change the color of the ink. So what is the role? To pump blood through the circulatory system, thus providing oxygen rich blood required for staying alive. All right, we stay alive because oxygen rich blood is getting circulated in our entire body. All right, so let's see what's there in the next slide. Now let's see. Let me change the ink. Okay. See, so before we get to know that how the heart works, we need to know something about the parts of the heart. Parts in the sense means, so there are four chambers. Okay, there are four chambers. So the upper two chambers, this chamber and this chamber, this is known as the atria or atrium. Okay, and the bottom two chambers are known as ventricle. So this is the right atrium and this is the left atrium. This is the right ventricle and this is the left ventricle. Now students, see, as you're watching the video, for you it might be that this part will be your right side, isn't it? And this part will be your left side because you are watching the video in this way, isn't it? But you can see that the heart is labeled as this part is left and this part is right, isn't it? So you might be a bit confused on why is it so. We shall discuss about this in the class, but right now you have to be cautious about this thing, that when you draw heart, then at that point of time it is this side is your left side and this one is your right side. So we have right atrium, right ventricle and left ventricle. Now another thing that we can see is, we can see the superior vena cava. Now this vena cava is, you can say this is as large vein. This is vena cava is a large vein that collects blood from all the parts of the body, especially the upper parts of the body. The blood which is rich in carbon dioxide, from, yes, from all the parts of the body, and they drain those blood into the right atrium. Okay, that is the first chamber. Again I repeat, superior vena cava means these are large veins which carries carbon dioxide rich blood from the upper part of the body to the first chamber, that is the right atrium. So what happens? Now let me erase this one. Okay, so what do you mean by the the carbon rich blood means that is deoxygenated blood, isn't it? Carbon rich blood means deoxygenated blood, or you can say impure blood. So this impure blood then enters via the superior vena cava to the right atrium. All right, shall I change the ink so it will be easy for you all to understand, isn't it? Yes, let me change the ink. Let me show the impure blood as black in color. So the impure blood comes here from the superior vena cava to the right atrium. Then from here, from the right atrium, the blood then enters the right ventricle via what? Via tricuspid valve. I have explained it in the last videos that valve means these are certain passages which prevents backflow of blood. That means blood cannot flow back from right ventricle to right auricle. Okay, so this is prevented by the valve, the tricuspid valve. So the impure blood or deoxygenated blood, they enter our heart from the superior vena cava to the right atrium and then enters the right ventricle through the tricuspid valve. Now what will happen? When it enters the right ventricle, then the blood, they flows through the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery, as per told in the class, that it carries deoxygenated blood, right? They carry this deoxygenated blood, you can see here also, to the lungs. This is a rough image of lungs. I know this is not a perfect image, but assume it to be like this, okay? So the deoxygenated blood then enters the lungs. Okay. Now what is here in the lungs? So what happens here? So this impure blood then mixes with the oxygen. Okay. The impurity mixes with the oxygen. It mixes here, and thus the blood becomes oxygenated. The blood becomes pure. So from the pulmonary artery, the impure blood or deoxygenated blood enters the lungs, and then they get mixed up with the oxygen in the lungs and thus becomes oxygenated. Alright, now next step. After mixing up with the oxygen here in the lungs, then this pure blood enters to the left atrium by the pulmonary vein. Okay, by the pulmonary vein, the oxygenated blood enters the left atrium. Okay, and then from the left atrium, this then travels to the left ventricle. Via which valve now? This is known as the mitral valve, okay, or bicuspid valve. Okay, bicuspid valve. So the oxygen rich blood, they enter from the pulmonary vein to the left atrium. Then there is a valve called the mitral valve or bicuspid valve, and via this passage they enter the left ventricle. Then what do you think will happen? Then from left ventricle, this oxygen rich blood will then enter this aorta, and from this aorta the oxygen rich blood will enter our body parts. That was really a long journey for blood, okay, isn't it? Yes. So this is how our heart pumps blood. We draw such diagram for the symbol of love for heart, isn't it? But now I think you must have realized how the heart basically is and how it functions. So shall I repeat it once again? Okay. See, so impure blood or carbon dioxide rich blood enters the first chamber, the right atrium, via superior vena cava. Okay, then from the right atrium they travel through the tricuspid valve and enters the right ventricle. From this right ventricle, from this right ventricle they enter the pulmonary artery, which carries the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. See, this is the lungs they have entered. So this impure blood, they gets mixed up with the oxygen and they become pure oxygen rich blood. This oxygen rich blood then enters via pulmonary vein to the left atrium and then passes through the mitral valve or bicuspid valve, enters the left ventricle, and then from there goes to other parts of the body via aorta. Alright, and yes, one more point I had to mention, that superior vena cava carries impure blood or carbon dioxide rich blood from upper parts of our body, okay, and inferior vena cava, they carry carbon dioxide rich blood or impure blood from the lower parts of the body. Okay, this part will be the upper part. that is the superior vena cava carries all impure blood from this upper part, and inferior vena cava, they carry all carbon dioxide rich blood from this lower part. And always remember, this superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, they drain the impure blood or deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. Students, please make it very clear in your mind that inferior vena cava does not drain the impure blood in right ventricle. Students, you all have a chance of making this mistake due to the picture, but be very clear that superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, both of them drain the deoxygenated blood or the impure blood in the right atrium, that is the first chamber. Alright, so the sequence should always be right atrium, left ventricle, okay? Sorry, right atrium, then right ventricle, okay? From here it goes via pulmonary artery to the lungs, and then from pulmonary vein to the left atrium, then left ventricle, then aorta, and then to other parts, to all the parts of the body. Alright, so that was how the heart works. I hope you all have understood. If not, then please rewatch this video, and rest we shall discuss in the class. Hope you all have a happy learning based on whatever you learn in the class. Alright, and so yeah, that was it. See you all in the class. Bye. Take care.